Hi there, Tracy Perry with Hope for the Journey again. And I wanted to clear up a little controversy that we see often in the dissociation world. For a long time, there was a belief that in order for somebody to be healed from complex trauma, that integration was imperative. For those of you that don't know, integration, if you've got somebody that has a dissociative identity disorder diagnosis, for instance, they've got all of these parts, and the parts are separate and pretty unique and can be very distanced from each other. With treatment, integration means that all the parts kind of come into one, and I've got a unified sense of self. I may still have different parts of me, but those parts of me are more unified sense of like self means I means self, and it includes all of those parts, as opposed to I meaning this one part of self and I meaning this other part of self. And for a long time, it was believed that in order to be healed, you had to go to this unified sense of self. But luckily, there have been some really brave people in the dissociation community that have lived experience with DID and have said no. There are real reasons not to integrate fully, and I can be fully healed and fully functional in the world without that singular sense of I, singular sense of self. And so there's been some confusion about that, and I thought that it would be helpful to talk about what are the good things about dissociative brains. So I want you to think about what it's like to go to like a generalist doctor, a family practitioner, something like that. They're good, they're wonderful. But if you really need something that is intense for like cancer, you want to go to an oncologist. If you really need something about your eyes, you want to go to an eye doctor. There's times when specialization is really great because they're able to do something really, really, really well. And it's a smaller scope, but they're able to do it really well. So let's use that analogy to think about a dissociative mind. When people have dissociative minds, their parts are usually really, really good at specific things. If they go into integration, oftentimes what happens is they move from that really, really, really good creativity or really, really good pieces of hypervigilance and being able to keep somebody safe, or really, really wonderful playful parts, right? Usually the younger parts play this role, but just really beautiful playful parts. And if they go to integration, they sometimes will become more like a generalist, where some of the intensity of the goodness of those parts kind of gets tapered out by the rest of them. And so a lot of clients don't want to do that, and they really appreciate the uniqueness of their specific parts and want to continue with that and live more in a communal style than a unified sense of self. So there's no right or wrong. And guess what? It doesn't have to be us as the therapist that decides that. That's the great thing. It's something that your clients can and should be able to decide for themselves. And oftentimes that happens organically it's not like sometimes it is a conscious decision, but oftentimes what will happen is that will just kind of come to the surface, what works best for them as they're moving through their treatment. And so there doesn't have to be a lot of pressure. It can change over time. And there's lots of different ways to experience wellness and functioning and thriving, which is awesome. I think it's super exciting. So it's one of the things I look forward to when I have a client that comes to me and has a DID diagnosis is, ooh, what is their version of thriving going to look like? And, it's like an exploration. We get to read that book and discover that together. Thanks so much. Hopefully this was helpful. Definitely take this into your sessions and think about your clients that have complex trauma and dissociative identity disorder, and giving them permission to decide for themselves what their version of Thrive is going to look like. Thanks.